Hi guys, it's Dylan from Bijou Diamond Jewellery in London again with another watch review, and today we're looking at the Hublot Big Bang 44mm gold ceramic. So back in the late 1970s, Carlo Crocco founded Hublot. He previously worked at a couple other brands or watch brands and decided to go out and do his own thing. He really wanted to design a sports watch that was on a rubber strap but made from precious metal. So that wasn't really done around that time. Most of the watches were more sort of dress watches. Carlo named the brand Hublot after the French word for porthole. Around that time, other brands were doing the same thing, like Audemars Piguet with the Royal Oak, that was based on a porthole, and same with the Nautilus from Patek. So after spending 3 years designing just the rubber strap, he finally came out with his first watch in 1980. Jean-Claude Bivet joined Hublot in 2004 and became their CEO after being at a few other big brands like Audemars Piguet. And he designed a brand new collection to revamp Hublot's line and kind of boost sales. And that's when he brought out the Big Bang, or Hublot brought out the Big Bang, which was launched in 2005. The watch was a massive success, really boosted their sales. It actually won a few awards as well, and it's really driven all their sales, or majority of their sales ever since. It became a real Royal Oak offshore competitor, and there weren't really many of those out there at that time. Royal Oak offshore kind of led the market in terms of big sports watches that were finished to a super high-end level with rubber straps. Hublot's quite an innovative brand. They don't just use the precious metals and steel, etc., etc. They tend to look at more alternative materials, maybe harder lasting materials like ceramic, carbon, and they like to experiment with different materials for different watches and make special editions. They're sort of like a lower quality version of Richard Mille. Richard Mille can afford to do amazing different designs with incredible different materials because the clients that are buying those watches are paying at least 4 times the price of these Hublots. So there's the margin in there for them to be able to use these more expensive materials. The cool feature about Hublot is they use a chip technology inside their certification card. They now use a chip card. So when you go to a service center or a boutique, they will scan this card and then they can see what's gone on with the watch and track it and check if it's genuine or not. This is perhaps a little bit of a better idea than what the other brands do in terms of just having a serial code number and a card, and then they just type it in like that. It's probably much harder to fake a card like the Wise Key card that Hublot uses. So this Big Bang gold ceramic 44mm is pretty much the classic iconic Big Bang. This is pretty much the Hublot to have. So if we now have a little look at the case and the overall features of the watch, we'll start now from the clasp. So the clasp is made from a combination of PVC coated steel, which is the black shiny parts, and then also a bit of rose gold too on the actual clasp. It's alright, it just feels like a tag clasp if I'm being honest. It doesn't feel as solid as AP and Patek clasps, not even as solid as Rolex clasps. It just feels a little tinny and a little bit cheap. Once it's on, it's solid I suppose, and it's quite comfortable. It doesn't really dig in. Now moving on to the strap. Seeing that they were such innovators in the whole strap industry, I don't understand why it feels the way it does. It feels so cheap, it doesn't feel high quality. It's quite supple, which is nice. It means it conforms to your wrist a little bit easier than the AP straps. It's not quite as rigid and spined like those. It kind of looks like a tire tread print. Yeah, the strap's not for me, basically. Now moving on to the case, we've got a mixture of rose gold and ceramic. Starting from the top, the bezel is made from ceramic, which is great because that's the part of the watch that's most susceptible to scratches and dinks. So that means your watch is going to look newer for longer, all that good stuff. The dial on this watch is pretty simple. It's got a carbon fiber effect. It's not actually made from carbon fiber, it's just an effect. If you catch it in the light, those indexes and the dial pops a little bit more, the carbon effect, but otherwise it's pretty flat looking dial. The indexes are probably my favorite part of this watch. They've got this polished and brushed effect on them, and they kind of elevate out from the dial if you catch them in the right light, and that gives the watch a bit more life and character. Something that bugs me about this watch is the fact that all the screws don't align, and they do on every single one of their watches. None of them align. I know it's different to Audemars Piguet, where they've got the octagonal screws or hexagonal screws, which means they can only fit in however many angles, so it's kind of way easier to align them. But I just don't think there's any excuse why they can't be aligned. It just looks a bit I don't know, amateur and not very luxury and high-end. It doesn't really look like they've put much care into the watch if they can't even be bothered to align some screws. A feature I quite like about the dial as well is it's got a little mini date window down at like 4:30 or 4 o'clock. And it's really subtle, you don't notice it at all until you look much closer, and I think that's a nice feature. The overall black and rose gold look on this watch is a really nice combination. I wish they didn't have this sort of rigidy edge around the ceramic bezel. It kind of matches the rubber strap and also the stop-start pushers. In a way, it's nice they've matched these effects and these finishes across the watch. With the polished and the brushed, and then these rigidy things. There's no reason for it to be ridged. You're not twisting the bezel, so you don't need any grip on that bezel, so there's no point in that being there. I think it should have been polished, and then the top of the ceramic bezel should have been brushed. That would have looked much better. Moving down onto the case, made from rose gold, or 18 karat rose gold. I really like the brushed and polished parts. I think it looks really smart, but it's not complex case finishing at all. I don't look at the watch and think, how did they manage to do that? That must be so difficult. It just looks very simple to me. And then in between the case, or in between the rose gold part, we've got this black thing that to me feels and looks like plastic. Please comment in the comment section if you know what this is, because I couldn't find anywhere what it is. I don't think it's carbon. I don't think it's ceramic, but it feels and sounds and looks to me like some sort of plastic. So that's a bit disappointing. It's not like the APs where you've got a solid rose gold case. They've kind of gone for that Richard Mille look where it's like a sandwiched case. I prefer the full metal case like on the APs. I think it's much more luxurious. Then if we move to the case back, we can see inside the movement. The rotors on these watches are amazing. They spin so freely. I don't know if that means that perhaps it doesn't wind the movement as quite sufficiently because there's not as much resistance, but I really like that. And it's a bit like Richard Mille. They make the rotors just move so fast around it. The actual movement inside is not finished again to the same level and quality as Patek and AP. Now actually on the wrist, it's a comfortable watch and it doesn't rise up as high as the AP Royal Oak Offshores. This is a 44mm and the 44mm Royal Oak Offshore is massive compared to this. So in that respect, I much prefer this in terms of size because I prefer smaller watches. And the reason for that is the pushers on the side and don't protrude out quite as far as they do on the Royal Oak. However, they do have these ears, like the porthole ears like we see on the Nautiluses from Patek. The rubber strap is much more supple than some of the other brands, so that means it does conform to your wrist much better. It's quite a comfortable watch to wear. It's more comfortable than the Royal Oaks with the deployment clasps, but the strap and the clasp side of the watch feel like it's from Tag. Would I own this watch? Probably not. I'm not a massive Hublot fan. I do think some of their watches are nice. I like the Sapphire watch. I think that's an impressive watch. But I personally don't always find they're worth the money. I think I'd rather save extra and buy an Audemars Piguet. The finishing on these watches is not on the same level as other brands, and you can see that very easily. All the Hublots are copied so often by cheaper high street designers like Michael Kors. Every time I see a Hublot now, it just looks like a Michael Kors to me. I don't think, oh, that Michael Kors looks like a Hublot. I think the Hublot looks like a Michael Kors, because that's who you see wearing them the most. You don't see many Hublots out and about purely because they're just not quite respected in the same way in the watch industry. Pretty much all of them will sell for well under list price, whereas other brands like Audemars Piguet and Patek, their watches sell for over list price, and some of the Rolexes as well. Hublot is not an investment watch. If you want your money to go up when you're wearing the watch, then don't buy a Hublot. Buy an Audemars Piguet or a Patek or a Rolex. So in that respect, they're not good for investment. They're not widely respected in the horology game. I do like some of the things they do. I like that they try and innovate and they try and use unique materials, but the fact they bring out a new special edition every other day doesn't really help their case. I think this watch can look amazing on some people, so it's not that this watch isn't for everyone, because I think it looks like so cool in the right light and on the right person, but it's just not for me. I personally wouldn't wear it. Thanks guys for watching. Let us know in the comments if you like this watch or other Hublots or what other watches you like. Let us know in the comments also what else you'd like us to review. Be sure to check out our jewellery online. We've got loads of jewellery coming soon. Lots of gift ideas on there. There's definitely something to suit everyone for this Christmas.